A very good evening to all our viewers. This is Primetime News on News First Weekend. For the News First team, I am Jamal Ratnayaka. Let's kick off today's bulletin with headlines.
Voice for Justice for Democracy. UNP Rally begins from Kandy. Protests staged across the island demanding to hold the elections. Clash between a group of students in Mathura claims the life of one. Sri Lanka restricted to 240 on second day of test against England.
The inaugural rally of the series of rallies organised against the government by the United National Party was held today in Kandy. The rally, which was presided by UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe, was held under the theme Voice for Justice for Democracy.
People from 3 protest marches from Adman Silva grounds, Ampitiya, Katugastata arrived at the Kandy town. Later, the rally commenced with the participation of party leaders representing United National Front and civil organisation representatives. President said that he will publish a book titled Unsuccessful Political Journey with Ranil. We will also author a book titled The Greatest Betrayal in the Country after the betrayal of the Kandian Convention. President Sirisena, next week we will take more from your side. Stop it if you can. Show us more than 85 votes. Mahinda cannot even take to the streets now. We will make the broadest alliance in the country against Maitri and his clan. We will raid the President's Secretariat and the President's residence. On the 29th of this month, we will bring a proposal to cut off the funding of the Prime Minister's office illegally run by Mahinda Rajapaksa and the Prime Minister's Secretary. On the 30th, we will bring a motion against the officers of those fake ministers. We would like to tell Mahinda Rajapaksa that we do not want an election under your chili powder democracy. So we would like to tell him that it will be 4 years on the 8th of January. Come for a presidential election if you can. Call for a general election as well. We are ready to defeat Maitri and Mahinda together. The group led by S.V. Dissanayake, who couldn't win 12,000 preferential votes from this district, were the people who lied and they believed them. And finally, when I took all my party members to Mecca, what did they say? They said that I will join them with that group when I get back. But did we cross over? We would like to ask the leader from Madamulana, is this really worth it? Why did you fall prey to this trap? This is a mystery to me as well.
This fake Prime Minister does not understand a no-confidence motion. We will bring a proposal to Parliament removing every cent allocated to him. And at that vote, our majority will be 129 to 130. I would like to remind that we should remove the word of good governance from the government established after we send this government home on the 29th. During our rule of good governance, some things that we should have done were postponed. We would like to apologize for that. But after this, I would like to say that we will give back to them with the interest on all of it. Friends, they are saying that they don't accept the Speaker of Parliament. We challenge them to bring a no-confidence motion against the Speaker. I would like to state that we will win that vote with 2/3 majority. Karu Jayasuriya's name will be written in gold in the history books as the most eminent speaker in the history of the country who protected democracy. The group that fears elections are the ones who are engaged in chili powder politics. They are the ones who indulge in politics like thugs. Are you not ready to protect Parliament, who is guarding the democracy in the country? Will you remain silent any longer? Are you ready to fight for our motherland, for democracy, for for the freedom of the general public in this country.
Sajid Premadasa also spoke on the Udagammana program that was conducted by his ministry.
We had formulated to create 2,500 Udagammana by the 31st of December 2019. It is sad to say that as of the 26th of October, all the Udagammana projects conducted by the ministry have been banned. The housing loans have been cancelled. Our goal was to establish 2,500 villages, followed by 5,000 more villages, and then 10,000 villages, and in the fourth phase, another 2,500 villages. And by 2020, the total number of Udagammana would have been 20,000. As they grabbed power, what did they do? They brought in all the assets of the Ministry of Housing into the country's treasury. If the leader of our party and the Central Working Committee tells us to take one step, we are ready to take 100 steps and put our lives on the line to save the general public of our beloved motherland.
We are not afraid to face an election, but the elections must be called under a legitimate government. If not, it would not be a legal election as per the constitution. What is the date on which the election should be held? We can decide on that with all the parties present in parliament. We can hold an election on any day. Nobody says that we will not go for an election. Then we can decide as to if the presidential election should be held before the general election. Parliament can decide on it, and we can pass any proposal with a two-thirds majority. They are hanging on to this by force. They are like leeches drinking blood. Then we must be prepared to remove that leech. The protest marches are good. Our Bodhi Pujas are good. This belongs to the people, and if they are not giving it back to the people, we are ready to fight for the rights of the people.
Leader of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, Anurakumara Disanayaka, had this to say.
Ranil Wickremesinghe is a leader who completely destroyed our democracy. When they were signing the Singapore Free Trade Agreement and when they were selling off the Hambantota port, what principles of democracy were they protecting? Ranil Wickremesinghe is the fake guardian of democracy. He's trying to cover up the dirty history of the past 3.5 years with a cloak of democracy. We know that he is not a democratic leader. Even though it does not concern us, is he a democratic leader within the party? Ranil Wickremesinghe was never a leader who displayed traits of a democratic leader. We are not representing that. The JVP does not change their decisions based on certain labels that they are given. We implement the decisions that we take.
Anurakumara Disanayaka also spoke on the cases that have been filed against the Rajapaksa family and certain members of the government.
The two main functions that should be performed by a government that has been established is to formulate laws and pass the funds required. Although they have established a government, both of these tasks have come to a standstill in Parliament. They cannot legislate or allocate funds. When they can't do both of this, why did Mahinda take up the position of Prime Minister? The reason is that there are many cases that are coming in the upcoming months. There are two cases against Basil. One is the case against misappropriating 10 million from the Samruddhi Fund. The second is the case on the house in Malvana. There are two cases against Gotabaya. One is the causing of losses to the government to the tune of 11,400 million rupees by sending that money to Avantgarde. The second is the use of public funds to build their parents' grave. That case is being heard in a special court. There are two cases against Namal. One is the question of how he invested 30 million rupees in Grover's company. The other case is on how he invested 15 million in another company. The two cases are being heard during the end of November and the start of December. Mahindananda has a case against him, Vimal has a case against him, and so does his wife.
Speaking at an event, President Maithripala Sirisena expressed the following views.
On the 8th of January 2015, the people of this country elected me as the president. As per the problems which prevailed at the time, I opted for the correct path at that time. The fact that the decisions I made then are correct is still valid today, and it will be valid tomorrow too. Today in Parliament, throughout the entire day, I witnessed UNP members isolating themselves and playing alone on their own field. Through their speeches, I witnessed how they have turned me into their plaything when I am not in Parliament. A book that was authored by my daughter, titled Janadipati Tatta, was the subject of much discussion in Parliament today. I tell all of them not to be too hasty. In January, I will publish a book titled The Unsuccessful Political Journey with Ranil. I ask them to read that book too in January. Throughout this time, I have seen the extent to which I have been criticized. I wish to say to all these people very clearly that when it comes to politics, I strive to bring about a better tomorrow for the motherland. I believe that those who see me as a bad person today will see me as a good person tomorrow or in the future. I have only two things to lose in this fight. I have happily made up my mind to lose both these things. One of those things that I am prepared to lose is my position, the position of president. What else do I have to lose? The other thing I can lose is my life. I might lose one of those things, or I might lose both of them. I know that I will not be alone in this fight. I am not keeping faith with politicians. I am keeping my faith with the general public of this country who have the innocent prayer for a better tomorrow for this country. I challenge all the senior politicians in the country to join me in a debate, and I am prepared to explain who is right and who is wrong. This is for the country. I believe that those with dirty hands will not be a challenge for people with clean hands. I am not a person who came for power. I am a person who came to leave power behind. I am not a person who is looking to stay. I am a person who will do what needs to be done in the time that I am here and then happily depart.
Councillor Vijay Sekara of the UPFA spoke at a media briefing held in the Prime Minister's office today.
You reveal the person behind this plot through your media. We saw Sumantiran, who was seated in the third row, running and complaining to the former minister Kiriyalla, who was seated in the first row. We saw how he made him quiet. We saw how the message was conveyed requesting him not to voice his opinion. We also saw how the message was delivered to former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. We can clearly see that the TNA is handling the UNP today. Now, if the TNA needs to be protected, the UNP must be protected first. If the UNP needs to be protected, the TNA must be protected. We have a suspicion that if for the last 3 years, Andhra Kumara Dissanayake was the real leader of the JVP. Yesterday we realized that our doubts were somewhat true. We saw how Andhra Kumara Dissanayake came forward to protect Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Speaking in Thalangama, Minister Mahinda Amaraveera expressed the following views.
There
is nothing I can say about politics now. Parliament convened yesterday as well. After a while, it was no longer the Parliament but a meeting of the United National Party. Because the Speaker was biased. He said he does not have faith in the government. We said we do not have faith in him and left. After we staged a walkout, Parliament was adjourned and a debate of the UNP began. The TNA too spoke at this debate along with the JVP. We don't really see a difference between the UNP and the JVP now. Both of them began to speak. The President's hope is to prevent any actions that may harm the country from taking place. Soon the country will return to normalcy and the process of developing the country will begin. We will not clash with the international community. Mahinda Amaraveera was speaking at an opening ceremony in Thalangama. Saplings were also distributed at the event.
Several protests against the current conduct of the United National Party were staged in different parts of the island.
A protest was staged in the Galevilla town against the Speaker Karu Jayasuriya and Ranil Wickremesinghe. Our correspondent said that the protest began near the Galevilla Pradeshya Sabha and the protesters marched towards the Galevilla town. Former councillor of the Central Provincial Council, Pramit Bandara Tendakon, and several other members from the Pradeshya Sabha were present. Another protest was staged in the Hambantota town by political and civil activists against the actions of the Speaker, urging that elections be held immediately. This was held under the patronage of the Mayor of Hambantota, Eraj Fernando. A memorandum was also signed by party members, and it was addressed to President Maithripala Sirisena, urging to hold an election immediately. Meanwhile, a group of SLPP supporters staged a protest opposite the Anuradhapura bus depot today. This was staged demanding the speaker to immediately resign from his position. Another protest was staged in Hatharaliyadda under the auspices of Minister Kehelia Rambukwella this evening. The protest march was held under the theme, Call for a General Election, Respect the People's Mandate. Meanwhile, the SLPP members of the Harispato Pradeshiya Sabha also staged a protest by marching towards the centre of the Katugastota town. This was held under the patronage of MP Dilum Amunugama. The SLPP held a protest opposite the Dehivala Mount Lavinia Municipal Council today against the Speaker and the United National Party.
The Ceylon Today newspaper reported that the Criminal Investigation Department yesterday filed charges in the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court against those allegedly involved in the murder of rugby player Wasim Tajuddin.
This charge sheet was filed in court by the CID in response to an order given by the Chief Magistrate at the previous hearing of the case. The Attorney General, sending a report to the CID in connection to the case, pointed out that former crimes officer in charge of the Narayanpeta Police Sumit Pereira and the second suspect, former Deputy Inspector General of Police Androsena Naika, had committed crimes which come under sections 198 and 215 of the Penal Code. The Attorney General in his report to the CID has pointed out that former Colombo Judicial Medical Officer Anand Samarasekara had also flouted section 198 of the Penal Code in connection to the case. Meanwhile, speaking on the Davasa political program on our sister channel Sirasa TV, leader of the National Unity Alliance Azad Sali expressed the following views.
How many promises do we have to make to the people? We first said the perpetrators of the murder of Lasantha Vikramatunga will be captured. We then made promises about Tajuddin's murder and the white van culture. Ranil Wickremesinghe couldn't capture a single thief. I think I took the Tajuddin family to meet the president 4 times. The president then called the Attorney General and said that this should be resolved. But nothing happened. Why didn't this end? Attorney General raised a staff issue when implementing the law within the legal framework. He was then told to recruit people to do the needful. Then they said the tenure of the government is 5 years, and if the issue is not resolved, this will be a failed government. Anurasena Naika was kept in for a year and then released. So what was the point? There is no court case. Now the Attorney General says this will be resolved within the next week. But it has already taken 3.5 years.
A 19-year-old student died after being stabbed along the Alavela Road in Matara. According to police, another student who was injured in the incident has been hospitalized.
The police stated that the student was stabbed during a clash between a group of students close to a tuition class this evening. A 19-year-old student succumbed to his injuries after being admitted to the Matara hospital. The student, named Rasindu Gimhan, studied in grade 13 at a reputed school in the area. He was a resident of the Mahen Watta, Nayamala in Tehagoda, Matara. The Matara police are conducting further investigations into the incident. A youth was strangled to death close to the Sumeda River between Munrag and Magandamula. According to police, the woman was murdered by her lover, who has been taken into police custody. The deceased was a 22-year-old resident of Veheragoda, Badal Kumbura. The Munragala police are conducting further investigations into the incident.
Welcome back to the news. The Hospital Committee of the Colombo North Teaching Hospital points out that the newly constructed building to treat patients lacks the required facilities.
The Colombo North Teaching Hospital in Ragama, which is only second to the Colombo National Hospital, treats about 5,000 patients on a daily basis. Over 600 doctors serve at this hospital that spans over a landmass of 28 acres. The construction of this 9-storied building to provide surgery, clinical and treatment for sudden accidents began in 2010. The cost of the project was 1,500 million rupees. The building was due to be declared open on the 8th of November by the former Minister of Health. However, the building is being used for treatment without an official opening ceremony.
Today doctors here are facing many issues. A large number of doctors have been suddenly transferred from this hospital. They have been released to the Anyakanda hospital. The officials, including the director of the hospital, were to hold discussions with us about this. But without any such discussions, they have begun working inside the building.
It was prepared to conduct operations. We had to postpone it due to the political situation in the country. But there has not been a massive problem. The contractor must now hand this over to an engineer of the ministry. Some places have already been handed over. Some places have not yet been handed over. They will hand it over to us after they have given it to a state engineering division. Our plan was to finish this by the 8th. However, this was not possible with the political situation, but work has begun in units that were handed over. Only the 2 lower floors were handed over. There are few places in the middle floor that haven't even been handed over as of yet.
We inquired from the director of the hospital on the allegations made by the hospital committee on the transfer of 7 doctors from the Colombo North Teaching Hospital. He said that the 7 doctors were transferred as per the annual transfers that were not done since the year 2013. He added that another 40 doctors are due to be transferred.
Landslides were reported along the Rikilla-Gaskada Deltota Road in Vavwela this morning.
According to our correspondent, a landslide that occurred had disrupted the flow of traffic along the Deltota Rikilla-Gaskada Road until 10 a.m. today. Officers of the Road Development Authority cleared the road. The landslide had also damaged a nearby house. Our correspondent said that heavy showers battered the area since last night. On the 10th of this month, landslides began to occur on the Atgala mountain in Dodangolla, Hapuela in Haguranketa. This resulted in the complete standstill of the traffic flow along the Hapuela-Rikilla-Gaskada main road. Our correspondent said that the road has been cleared.
Now, the petroleum slump, which took major oil contracts down to their lowest level since October 2017, comes as oil output remains high in the United States, Russia and Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, some forecasters have trimmed their outlook for global growth due in part to the US-China trade fight.
US oil benchmark West Texas Intermediate dropped by $4.21 to $50.42 a barrel for January delivery, a decline of 7.7%. In London, Brent oil futures for January delivery slid by 6.1% to $58.80 per barrel. Global stock markets were mixed, with major US indices retreating in part due to worries about lower oil prices and weak global growth. Bourse in Paris and Frankfurt notched modest gains, while London and Shanghai all fell.
Day 2 of the third and final test between Sri Lanka and England worked out at the SSC today. At the end of the second day, England, playing in their second innings, led Sri Lanka by 99 runs.
Sports First Allianz Platinum Awards 2018.
I come from a very rural village in Berla-Panadara. I have contributed my 100% to the country. I am a national record holder. The sportsmen and women are very talented, and now they have been given an opportunity at the Platinum Awards. I'm Swarnamali Edrisinghe.
Sports First, Allianz Platinum Awards 2018.
And with that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I am Jamal Ratnayakar. Take care and have yourself a pleasant evening.